you can't prevent fraud. You can't legally or practically do business as a bank in the United States. You can't legally do business in the US or really anywhere if you can't stop fraudsters from impersonating or creating identities from scratch to commit fraud. That's facilitating financial crime. It's a BSA violation, and it's all sorts of other bad things. But just from a practical standpoint, if you can't stop fraud at your institution, you're going to lose so much money to paying back fraud losses and losing dispute processes that you'll go out of business. Banks experience 3 types of fraud when it comes to doing business with a particular customer from day one. And so what I mean by that is your customer signs up for your accounts, and they may either be signing up with an identity that doesn't exist at all, commonly referred to as synthetic identity fraud. They may be signing up with somebody else's identity, commonly referred to as identity theft or third-party fraud, or they may be signing up for your account in their own name, but planning to commit fraud from the very beginning, commonly referred to as first-party fraud. There's a second problem that's related but not exactly the same, which is good customers who have accounts with your institution may get tricked into committing fraud by somebody else. We can call that scams. Or they may be hacked or compromised in some way, and then the compromiser uses the account to commit fraud. That's called account takeover. Fraud is currently at an all-time high in terms of the number of fraudsters attacking US financial institutions. And we know that because we do a survey of fraud leaders and business line leaders at banks in the US every single year. And we know that they reported elevated fraud attacks compared to last year, and last year was itself an all-time high. The good news is that this is a tractable and preventable problem, but it's going to require investments in digital fraud prevention to match the investments that are being made in digital banking experiences. And I believe that that has started to happen. When banks are thinking about their tech stack and fraud, I would first think about the overall digital banking technology ecosystem at the bank across lending origination, member and customer account opening, and then online mobile banking, as well as if you have any payment channels that sit outside of online and mobile banking. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter if you adopt the best-in-class technology for one part of your customer journey, if there's another part that leaves the door wide open. If you can verify identities at onboarding, but you can't figure out if those identities are still who you're doing business with in online banking, and then re-authenticate customers as needed, well, then fraudsters will figure that out. Or conversely, if you are really, really strong at authenticating your existing customers, but don't have an opportunity to strongly verify them when they come through the door, you're opening up yourself to a very high-scale fraud attack. So it matters far more whether you have a centralized platform for delivering fraud strategies to different technologies, whether those technology partners are willing to adopt your latest and greatest when it comes to fraud prevention, whether they're being a good thought partner to you about where and how you need to implement different strategies. That is far more important than adopting any particular tool for any particular purpose. So I would first take an audit of my vendors in digital banking holistically. Who's a good partner to me? Who's staying up to date with the latest and greatest? Who is managing the integration ecosystem well? And work your way back from there. Because the long pole in the tent in digital banking and fraud prevention is the vendor ecosystem, meaning who's your account opening provider, digital banking provider, lending origination, you need fraud prevention at every touch point. Because that's true, the most important thing is investing in a technology that can future-proof the future development work of all of those different platforms as fraud evolves. If you're constantly having to go back to 4 or 5 different vendors just to ask for an update to how you're going to do authentication or machine learning, alert generation, or whatever the case may be, you may get cooperation from your ecosystem to make a big set of changes a couple of times, but it's not only not going to happen, but it's unreasonable for that to be a constant. Every 2 weeks as we see a new fraud trend, we ask everybody to make a bunch of changes. This is a solvable problem though. You can future-proof every single one of your digital banking platforms against future code changes just to implement new fraud tools.